I was playing in a country band. Country music had made a comeback. There'd been this movie out with John Travolta called Urban Cowboy. Had Mechanical Bull and all these country music, line dances and stuff. So all the bars that were playing top 40 and disco and whatever else was going on back around 1982, 83, switched their format to country. So if you wanted to work, playing music, you had to play what people want to hear. So I joined this country band, and I like country music. The blues and country are the same exact music, same three chords. It's society that puts us in a box. If you sing this song, it's country. But if I sing it because I'm black, it's blues. It's the same song, same three chords. So, we're always being categorized. That's what this country does. So anyway, I joined this country band. I was the only black guy in the band. And they were pretty well established here in the Maryland area. And they had played this place up in Frederick called the Silver Dollar Lounge. Silver Dollar Lounge, I knew about it. I'd seen it before, but I'd never been to it. Was not welcoming to black people. Black people knew, you don't go there. I mean, there were no signs saying no blacks or anything like that, but the reputation preceded it. And so, I had no reason to go in there. So I never bothered. Well, the band had played there before, and now they're going back, and now I'm in the band. So I went to the Silver Dollar Lounge, and when I walked in, people looked at me, but they didn't bother me. And they danced to our music. And on one of the breaks, this guy came up from behind me and put his arm around my shoulder. And so now I don't know anybody in this racist Silver Dollar Lounge, and somebody's touching me. I thought something was going to happen. So when I turned around to see who this was, it was a white guy, 15, 18, maybe even 20 years older than me. Big smile on his face. And he says, "Man, I sure love your all's music." I said, "Thank you." And I shook his hand. And he pointed at the stage and said, "I've seen this here band before, but I had never seen you. Where'd you come from?" And I explained, "Well, yeah, they told me they'd played here a few times before, but I just joined the band." He says, "Man, I sure love your piano playing. This is the first time I ever heard a black man play piano like Jerry Lee Lewis." To me, that was not offensive. He meant it as a compliment, and that's how I took it. And Jerry Lee certainly had an impact on me, and I knew Jerry Lee Lewis very well. And but Jerry Lee Lewis's piano style comes from black musicians, from black blues and boogie-woogie piano players. That's where that rock and roll, rockabilly style evolved. And I proceeded to explain that to him. He said, "Oh, no, man, Jerry Lee invented that. I ain't never heard no black man play piano like that." Well, of course, the guy doesn't get out much. He never heard of Little Richard or Fats Domino. It's the same kind of, boogie music. So anyway, I said, "Look, man, I know Jerry Lee Lewis. He's told me himself." He didn't believe that either. But he was fascinated with me and insisted that I come back to his table and let him buy me a drink. And I don't drink alcohol. I never did. But I said, "Okay, but I'll have a cranberry juice or something." So we sat down. He pays the lady for the cranberry juice, the waitress. He takes his glass and he clinks my glass and cheers me. And then he says, "This is the first time I ever sat down and had a drink with a black man." And now I'm like totally baffled. Like, how can this be? By this point in my life, I'm 25, I have sat down literally with thousands of white people and had a meal, a beverage, a conversation. This guy is a decade to 2 decades older than me. He's never sat down with a black guy before. And so I was just kind of mystified. And I wasn't tuning in, And I said, "Why?" And I wasn't trying to be facetious. I'm just, naive. I said, "Why?" And he didn't answer me. He looked down at the tabletop, and I asked him again. His buddy elbowed him. He said, "Tell him, tell him, tell him." I said, "Tell me." He said, "I'm a member of the Ku Klux Klan," and I burst out laughing at him because I know a whole lot about the Klan. I have tons of books on the Klan. I had that fight with that Klansman, and so that's not normal behavior for the Klan to walk up to a black guy, put their arm around him, and want to buy him a drink and hang out, So this guy was obviously joking with me. And while I'm laughing at his joke, he went inside his pocket, pulled out his wallet and flipped through it, and handed me his Klan membership card. It had that red circle with the white cross and blood drop in the center on the card, and a Klansman on horseback. And I stopped laughing. This thing was for real. And so now I'm wondering, why am I sitting here with the Klansman, right? I gave him back his membership card, and we talked. He was very friendly. gave me his phone number, wanted me to call him whenever I was to come back here, because he wanted to bring his friends, meaning Klansmen and Klanswomen, to see, as he put it to me, the black guy who plays piano like Jerry Lee Lewis. I don't know that he called me the black guy to his friends, right? But that's what he called it to me. And so I'd call him every 6 weeks, a few days in advance, say, hey man, we can be down at the Silver Dollar, come on out. He'd come with Klansmen and Klanswomen, not in robes and hoods, but in street clothes. And they would dance to our music and watch the band, watch me play the piano. And then on the break, I'd make my way over to his table, say hello, thank him for coming, bring in his friends. I would meet some of his friends. Two of them, every time they saw me walk towards the table on the break, they'd get up and walk to the other side of the room. So the message implied was, we don't want to shake your hand, we don't want to touch you, we don't even want to talk to you, we just want to look at you. Okay.
Do you think in you doing that and in him inviting friends, and do you think even just the act of music and the act of representation that you were able to change some minds, or was it not quite that?
It's not quite that fast, but yes, it's planting a seed. People seeing that. It definitely has an impact. Everything you take in, it may not manifest itself right then and there, but something you are reacting to it internally, and it will come out later on. You say, oh man, yeah, I remember that time years ago, this black guy walked into a bar, and I know that guy was a Klansman, and they got along fine. It doesn't has an impact.
So after that initial meeting and those conversations, it sounds like, is that what really sparked, believe it or not, I'd like to meet more members of the
Well, yeah, that's what, because a white supremacist, whether they're Klan people or Nazis or just your racist next door who doesn't belong to any organization, these people are not stamped out of a standard cookie cutter. They come from all different walks of life. It's like trying to put all black people in the same box. We're diverse. We're not monolithic. Neither are white people. Neither are certain sections of white people, being the KKK. They're not monolithic either. Yes, they all have the same ideology, where they don't like blacks or Jews or Mexicans or gay people or whatever else, but there are different levels of animosity. Like they might tolerate, let's say, black people more than they would Mexican people. Some of them are like that. Some of them are separatists. Some of them are supremacists. And so these are separatists who believe we can coexist, but separately, not together. All right. A supremacist believes, nope, this is a white man's country. We discovered it. We built it. And all non-whites need to go back to where they came from. Here's this guy who I didn't believe was a Klansman, because he's buying me a drink. He's hanging out. He's telling me he's a member of the Klan. Like, this is a joke. And then he proves it, and I'm like, oh. So now I have to try to juxtapose him with the other guy and all the background that I know about these people. So I said, you know what? I want to travel around and seek out Klan members and leaders and interview them and get an answer to my question, how can you hate me? You don't even know me. I went up north, I started here in Maryland, went up north, went down south, went to the Midwest, went to the West, interviewing different Klan leaders and members. Some would talk to me, some would not talk to me, some wanted to fight me, all that kind of crazy stuff.
And how do you even find them?
They're not hard to find, trust me. They're not, and they're a lot easier to find today, of course, because you got the internet. But basically, so some Klan wants to have a rally at the park over on Main Street. Well, what do they have to do? They have to go to City Hall and get a permit, right? And that's a public record. So I read the newspaper or see on TV, the Ku Klux Klan will be holding a rally, on August whatever at such and such park, da 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 da. So I go down to City Hall, I pull the permit. This is Joe Smith, and here's his phone number. Let me call him up, have my secretary call him up.